We spent the past year building up his own back brace. He had a shit back by definition. You know my concept, it's sensitive, hidden and imbalanced, incredibly weak and tight.
I first hurt my back when I was in 11th grade, lower back strain. Hurt it again really bad at the University of Montana when I was like 21, 22. And then when I hit 30 was when I started getting perpetual radiating pain down my legs. That's when I called you.
Yeah, and we got started. We did a whole full-length podcast into a story if you want to check it out. But today we're gonna go through the 4 main exercise progressions that really helped them, and we're gonna give a breakdown of why it helped. Step 1, sensitivity. We're gonna get going just slow, nice and steady, even slower. So a lot of people know, you can follow us as we go, you can become intolerant to compression on your spine. So this force of gravity just going on your discs over time gets to a point where you feel like you have to hang from a bar every day or get an inversion table so that way you get disc spacing through the vertebrae. That's true for relief. Now, how do you get out of sensitivity more long-term? It's something like the sled. When you push the sled, you're getting very small and gradual compressive loads on the spine in a way that you don't really get from running, in a way that is less intense than back squatting with a bar on your back. So a lot of what we're doing is flipping, running away from something to trying to build preparation for it. Forwards, he's pushing through his legs and the load has to go through his vertebrae disc into the spine, into the actual sled. So this is building conditioning within the spine to be able to handle a little bit more compression. You've improved a lot on this over the past year.
Night and day.
And go. We're gonna go now to the hidden and imbalanced section. The H, or the acronym. A lot of his issues were in the hips. Oh, man, that's a normal byproduct.
That's why I don't get lightheaded.
Okay, so one of the things that became super obvious, I went on tour with him to try to fix his back. And his back was weak and untrained, but his hips were illegally tight. And I was like, that's the kind of stuff you try to look for because then it makes it less of a mystery. So what we're gonna do, huge part of it too, you were getting radiating pain down, starting to affect nerves and the tightness in your hips. It was becoming a hip and back problem. Most people go straight to just stretching out the hips.
Right.
And they feel relief for like an hour and then it goes right back. There's nothing convincing about taking a sensitive muscle, forcing in a stretch, and then just leaving it because it was tight for a reason. So you have to try to give it life. So we did this outer hip drop set, which is an isometric hold circuit, getting a crazy pump into the area at these levels, and then we will go into stretching it. So that's what we're gonna do. So you get a 90-90 position like he's at, back knees 90, front knees 90. The first round, let's get into it. So you're just internally rotating. We do 30 seconds at this position. If this is too hard, could lie down on the elbow. I mean, you're going for the no hands. Nah, this is like a grand test. You don't have to. But I remember when we started.
Could not do that.
The real challenge of this one is if you could do no hands. Yeah.
Can't do.
The extent, your ability to use your hips and keep your back out of it.
Right.
You have to overlean.
Yeah, you literally can't do it.
I showed it off. I was like, yeah, one day you'll be able to go like this. And you were like, 30 seconds here now. So
yeah,
we're rotating and lifting.
Oh.
There you go. Hitting different kind of angles, different kind of emphasis when we're changing these variants. Now 30 seconds out. So now there's not much rotation, but just lift. Outer glute is burning on fire. That's it.
That's the one that really just makes like that part where I hurt. It feels like it's contracting that part that's so weak.
Yes.
You know?
A connection from the hips and back.
Right.
These outer glutes.
Part about this too is it doesn't get any easier because you're the one making it harder. So the stronger you get, the harder you have to push.
Right, you go higher. That's the thing too, is not just off the ground, as high as you can.
Right.
It just helps allow with the hip tightness too. The stronger you get on this side, the more you can start to open up the groin and get into the stuff like that, exactly.
Right.
This is now showing that. So instead of just stretching on the muscle, we get a pump first. That's the squeeze then stretch effect. We're going straight from this into the incline pigeon pulse. And there's a little pulses. So he's gonna push his knee into there nice and slow. So it's not just a stretch, it's like a loaded strength through length. 20.
6.
Nice.
7.
So he's really pushing the knee into the bench, lifting with that muscle, trying to be tall. There you go. I would only do this if you're strength training the area. If you're not squeezing it and getting a pump or doing any kind of work in the opposite, this is just gonna get vulnerable, and then it gets more sensitive and more sensitive. You don't make progress. Now we're at the incredibly weak part of the acronym, I. Obviously, if you've never trained your low back, like none of us have, your low back is incredibly weak. Just holding an iso hold to explain, if you've never seen my videos on it, the concept, probably go hands across shoulders so we can see your back. He's trying to get his body as long as possible. It's starting to train the low back with tension. Everything's squeezing and firing, but not spasming. That's a really important nuance to reteach your nervous system and firing patterns of the muscles. So we started, did you start with 2 minutes on this?
No, I couldn't get 2 minutes in the beginning. In the beginning, my goal, I think the first time I did it, I got somewhere between 120 and I think I tapped out at like 122.
Yeah.
Something like that. I have it in a book somewhere.
And a lot of people, when they start, it's not just, oh, it's burning like fatigue. It's this sort of unsettling, ambiguous sort of feeling of kind of tight, kind of locking up, kind of sore. And so that whole process is expected. That's why we start super slow, 30 seconds of an iso hold. Or you can even put the pad really, really high, you know? And so there's ways to even get step 1 down to a level that's easier. So for example, you can make that even easier. You could take your feet out of a machine if you're on the max height, and you could start here. And now you're holding 20% of your body weight instead of, 50% of your body weight. And that little difference really can be a breakthrough with someone who's super sensitive. So now you're building strength, squeezing, then we go into the reps. You want to go through just the half reps. I remember when we started reps was together in the hotel gyms, and some of them that did have them.
Go.
Yep. And we started with this. Because still have no clue, there's 2 types of back strength. There's the back strength of the back completely like a board, using all the vertebrae together and showing glute strength, but with the back solid. And then you can go to full range reps. Then there's the back strength where you actually show vertebrae by vertebrae paraspinal strength. The smaller muscles, multifidus, rotatorus. These are things that start to get exposed. Is it tolerant to being loaded? Can you decompress the spine at the bottom and then use the muscles to recompress at the top? Like that's a test that's 6-8 months down the line after starting iso holds.
I remember I started doing the iso holds. When I first saw your videos, I actually purchased a back extension for my apartment that I never put together. But my thing, I was going to start trying to rep them like I did push-ups.
Yeah.
Until I went and tried the iso hold, and I was like, I can't even hold this for 2 minutes. So I started the slow process, and then I talked to you about that, and you were telling me it was going to be a journey. So I've been doing this religiously for like a year now, to where I just started putting weight on my back, 2 months ago?
Right, yeah. Yeah, and now you just hit a record. We could show that footage. You just did 12 reps. How many did you do?
I did 13 or 14.
With a barbell, right?
That's the thing, it's a process. I haven't missed, since we started, I haven't missed a workout or a week. My back's been hurting me since I was 16, 17, so I've done and been to physiotherapy, deep tissue massages. Never did acupuncture.
Right.
But I went to a chiropractor, until I actually found a message like, oh, this actually lines up with my actual life of progression and getting good at a skill.
Yeah.
My back is a skill, I hadn't practiced.
Right. Wrapping up his journey on the back extension, that was the biggest foundation to really set his sights on for over a year, and now he's crushing it with weight. He was in back debt. Now we're at the last part about tightness, which you still have some here and there, right?
Oh yeah, still working on it.
That's the last symptom sometimes to really go. The first is to be able to use the muscles and not spasm, to get rid of sensitivity that you can even get a pump or get sore in a good way. Tightness has the fascia involved. It's the nervous system holding on still. So after you built through everything we just did, the tightness that you feel is a lot on one side. We can work directly to that with a side bend, but only after built the back extension the way we did it. To start loading laterally on the spine, some of the deeper stuff pulling, and the QL, and the muscles that are keeping you from bending sideways, you can start just with a walk. And we did suitcase carry. Really, really steady. A lot of people have done this before. You could work a side plank. You could work a side iso hold on the back extension. All of these things are just general core training to the outside, which is good. And now you're going to directly go into the side bends. But because he's on back extension, now we can go lateral flexion on the spine. Yep.
This leg back or?
Opposite.
Opposite, right.
Yep.
Oh.
A little more space between the legs. Yep. There you go. So you can start with no weight and literally just practice reaching apart.
This one's therapeutic.
There you go. He's slightly turning his arm to look up to the ceiling. So now you can switch. Yep. Let's go through the walk. So before you even do the side bend, I would start just isometric, getting comfortable with load without any motion. The reason you don't start with this is because the back extension is letting you flex your spine 2 sides at a time, using the left and the right parts of the back. This is flexing the spine only with the left side of the low back muscle. So if you don't have strength to be able to go down and lift yourself back up comfortably, doing it sideways is taking half the strength, but the same amount of load on the bones and vertebrae. So try to get your spine super flexed. Stuff like that is just a continuation of the back extension.
Is this one neck harder?
Yeah, then what? The back extension?
Back extension?
It's harder on the smaller tissue, on the connective tissue holding the spine together. So your bigger muscles start to shut off when you're at the bottom. And then the smaller muscles have to actually help keep you from just ripping apart. Everything should be done in thought process in order. Day 1, you can start sledding very light. You can also try the outer hip drop set and pigeon. You can try some of the iso holds, but like those are gonna come more confidently over weeks of the previous step. This side bending could be months in, Jefferson curl a year in. So you'll feel each part of the spine, you're gonna work piece by piece of rounding and let the elbows hang towards the ground. Yep, exactly.
Oh.
It's lighter than what you just did on the back extension, but it's really true.
It's hard. It's hard to curl that. The back extension, I can feel that curl of the back more, but.
Yep. That's something you have to relearn how to do.
That.
Because you could just already yell it, but that's why you start with the neck and then try to overemphasize, exaggerate it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh. Yeah.
That's the full shit back route we took. We did a lot of full body training. We trained our ankles. We did a lot more stuff with the hips, but the general deposits, the things that were very consistent that you could say you transformed at.
Right.
Definitely sled, definitely the back extension, definitely the outer hip drop set and the pigeon. Like those things are night and day.
Which one when you were telling me about like ways I could work my legs without directly working my legs? But I haven't squatted.
Right, with the barbell, heavy. Nice and tall.
Oh. But my legs are. I got quads now.
Yeah.
I got quads.
And you haven't touched more than like
quad.
80 pounds.
Right. I never had these quads.
Yeah, man.
I think that was one of the things I was scared in the beginning. I was like, I was so focused on wanting to like maintain being like ripped and all these things like that, but training like this, I actually like the way my muscles look more than the way they did before.
The main thing for people to realize, like, no matter who you are getting deep tissue massages, still do, because they're not bad for you, but you are relying on that to try to get it fixed.
That was my only way out.
You are wearing a back belt, you're wearing something literally to try to brace you all the time. You're going to professionals, and nowhere was it explained to you to have a route that was multi-year and exposing. Like, you gotta find out where you suck. And so this is kind of the route. It's not a fix for everybody in the same exact exercise, but the philosophy. If you could take away this and look for your problem areas that probably are sensitivities, probably tightness, probably imbalances, probably weakness, we all have some of that. That helps you form the plan. So
everything worth having takes time.
Yeah.
And you lose things the same way you get them. If anybody's selling you a quick fix, it's gonna be a quick break. And it's not gonna last long.
This is really a problem that affects everyone. Like,
everybody.
It's widespread, no matter who you are, what you do, how much access you have to what kind of treatment, what kind of thing. You end up at the same place. You gotta build your own back brace. No one can save you from it. And so, play the long game.
All right.
Catch y'all.